Los Angeles Rams, San Francisco 49ers, part 2 on Thursday Night Football. Primetime, meaningful divisional game. This is the full Thursday Night Football breakdown. If you're new here and you've never been here before, welcome. My name is Max, or Loeb's Leads, and I do these every single week for the Thursday night game, the biggest games on Sunday, and Monday Night Football to give you the best information possible for your fantasy teams, as well as your higher or lower projections using coverage data, run scheme metrics, and overall logistical information about the matchup. Before we get into this, if you're new and you've never been here before, make sure you subscribe and join the family. We're on the road to 10K. Had a crazy week last week. I know a bunch of you guys hit some of the picks that we made. I appreciate you if you tailed. If you tailed or you enjoy this type of content, make sure you like this video. Before breaking down anything, though, I want to make sure you guys have all the information you need to get all of my picks and predictions. So I'm going to show you how to do that really quick before we talk about the coverage matrix. If you can see right here, there's a link below for all this stuff. All my parlays, all my multi-pick entries will be on my Instagram exclusively now. Instagram, I used to have them on my X. They're on my Instagram exclusively. So if you're not following my Instagram, click that link below. Make sure you do. I don't want you to miss any of that stuff. And if you have X, make sure you're following me on X too. That's where I'm going to put like my first touchdown scores, any other fun, less data back picks, but picks I want to ride for all of the games, Thursday, Sunday, Monday, all that good stuff. You got to make sure you're following on both platforms if you have both. But that is where all that stuff is. And if you want to make picks on these, and I'll explain how to do this again at the end, make sure you join Sleeper, Underdog, or Better Picks. I'll refresh this for you right now. Sleeper right now is giving you free entries if you join with code LEADS, LEADS, with a minimum deposit of $10. So do that. Underdog is giving you a deposit bonus up to $1,000, and Better Picks is giving you a deposit match up to $200, as well as a free pick on all of these sites to pair with any of the picks you like that I talk about, any of your own picks you want to ride. It's free cash. Don't miss out. Again, all the links for that are below. Without further ado, though, let's get into this breakdown, and we'll start with the coverage matrix. Truthfully, guys, this was a tougher game to break down. There's less data outliers than there have been. We'll talk about those after the coverage data because coverage data, truthfully, is more important. This was a tougher game to break down, but there still is some good information here. So looking at the Los Angeles Rams defense, they run the 8th most zone coverage in the NFL, 13th most middle field close, but in terms of middle field close, so that's cover 1 or cover 3, and then middle field open, that's cover 2-man, cover 2, cover 4, cover 6. They're pretty balanced. So there's no real tip in terms of the type of zone they play, but they play a lot of zone. 49ers run the 12th most middle field close. They're not super man heavy, like pure man across the board. They'll blitz you, but they won't play a ton of pure man across the board. Very balanced, but a little more middle field close. So a little more cover 1 and a lot of cover 3. That's what they do, especially in the zone world, cover 3. Both quarterbacks in terms of fantasy points per dropback, Matt Stafford and Brock Purdy, are a little bit better against the types of zones that these defenses play, but nothing super noticeable. So in terms of the data outliers, we can pull up some pass yardage charts here, right? Pull up the basic passing again. In terms of overall pass attempts, you can see San Francisco 49ers have the 5th fewest in terms of overall pass yards. The San Francisco 49ers, oh, here we go. Where'd they go? Oh, we are on the wrong thing here. Okay, there we go. Basic passing defense. In terms of pass attempts defensively, we'll switch this over. The San Francisco 49ers are, shocker, very good. You look at the overall attempts, they have the 6th fewest attempts. There we go. And in terms of pass yards per game, they have the 2nd fewest. So teams aren't passing the ball on them with a ton of efficiency. When they do, though, it goes to one place, which is very interesting. Running back receiving. They're giving up the 11th most running back receiving yards in the NFL. In terms of target rate, they're being targeted out of the backfield at the 8th highest rate in the NFL. So when we go look at some of the game logs for a guy like Trent Williams, it's important to understand that the games he has done better in, especially in the receiving world, have been against those more zone-heavy teams. Now, what cover 3 does to Trent Williams, we kind of wait to see because he's going to see a lot of it. But in terms of the zone-heavy teams, like a team, perfect example, San Francisco, week 3, 2 for 27 and a touchdown receiving, right? 27 plus receiving yards. The other zone-heavy teams, Minnesota, extremely zone-heavy, 5 catches. He also had 19 yards. Seattle's pretty balanced, but 1 for 26. Miami, extremely, extremely zone-heavy, 5 for 20. Buffalo, extremely, extremely zone-heavy, still 10-plus yards. Basic math, like 9-plus, 10-plus yards in those zone-heavy games. I really like it. Right now, his projection is at 10. I like that. And if you guys will see in my entry on Instagram, which again, you got to make sure you're following my entry on Instagram, we will be on his receiving yards. I think that could happen on one play, realistically. I would be shocked if it didn't catch any passes. I know the snap count stuff with Blake Corum has been a little more concerning, but at the end of the day, Kyren Williams is still the main guy. Like, you can look at the volume splits, more than double still last week, actually more than triple, almost double in week 13. And then obviously Corum wasn't getting a ton of burn there, but Kyren Williams is still the guy. So I don't worry too much about Corum's volume, especially in the receiving world. Kyren Williams still has far and away the most routes out of the backfield for this Los Angeles Rams offense. Now, continuing on the 49ers defense trail, third fewest wide receiver yards allowed, fifth fewest wide receiver receptions, second fewest tight end yards, fourth fewest tight end receptions. If you guys want to get on Colby Parkinson, be my guest. I'm not going to do that. But like we talked about, very balanced in terms of man zone. It's tough to tell. Against zone, because they do play more zone, I looked at the numbers in terms of overall receptions and targets. Kupp is the guy. But the Niners are being targeted in the slot at the 8th lowest rate. So teams really aren't throwing in the slot on them, which is very important to note here too, because Cooper Kupp is the main slot guy for the Los Angeles Rams. Looking at his route participation from the slot, it's 41.5%. That means 42, for rounding up, percent of Rams pass plays have a Cooper Kupp route from the slot. So he's very clearly the main slot guy. It's very interesting to note there. But in terms of overall yards per route run, Puka Nacua is still the guy. And this is where I like to lean a little bit more over Kupp, because the Niners are being targeted out wide at the 12th highest rate. Now, when it comes to throwing the football for the Rams, and they'll throw the football a good amount, they're throwing out wide at the 4th highest and in the slot at the 4th highest. So that's where they're throwing. In terms of where the Niners allow it, they allow a lot more out wide than the slot. I'll prefer the out wide guy, which is Puka Nacua. Another really interesting one, though. Another really, really interesting one. Tutu Atwell, 2.88 yards per route run against zone coverage. I'm not going to sit here and tell you to hammer Tutu Atwell receiving yards or hammer Tutu Atwell receptions, but I do look at the pick'em here. I'll go on to Underdog. Again, this stuff is available on Underdog exclusively, almost the longest rush, longest catch, all that stuff. I go look. I'm going to scroll down a little bit here. It's not up yet. We are recording this a little bit early, so it's not up yet. But when it is up, Tutu Atwell longest reception, I would venture to guess that it'll probably be somewhere mid-teens. I don't know. I'm going to pull up his game log right now so you guys can see what Tutu's been doing. Again, it's not a ton of production. It's not a ton of production for Tutu Atwell, but if you pull up his game log and what he's done, like you can see last week, nothing. But against Arizona, 21-yard long reception, 50-yard reception against the Niners on the 22nd. That was when Kupp and Nacua were out, so it's important to note that. But a 25-yard catch, a 24-yard catch, a 13-yard catch, 18, 16. 6 is interesting, and that's interesting because it's a zone-heavy team, but we wait to see if that really has any substance. I don't know if it does. 20-plus yard, 20-plus yard, 20-plus yard. Last 4 games, happened 3 of the 4. Overall, it's happening 1, 2, 3, 4. If we're talking 16-plus, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of, that'll be 13 games. So in terms of longest catch for Tutu Atwell, we wait till it comes out. But if it's if it's 16 or below, I think he could have a 16-plus yard catch, especially in a game where they're going to have to throw the football. Niners run defense is solid. I think it could totally happen. I don't think it's far-fetched to say that or expect that. So Tutu Atwell is definitely something I'm looking at. In terms of the other data outliers, there really isn't too much more on the San Francisco 49ers side of the ball. I mean, you look at the run data, they have the 11th lowest yards per carry allowed, the 7th lowest explosive run percentage, and it's not like the Rams can break off explosive runs. They have the lowest offensive explosive run percentage in the NFL. In terms of red zone data on the Niners side, field goal kicker data, they have the least field goal attempts allowed, probably because they have the second worst red zone defense in the NFL. Part of the reason I really like Matthew Stafford, multiple touchdown passes. He's had 2+ in 6 of 8 games since the bye. He's red hot. Red hot. I love the way Stafford is playing football. Puka, Kupp, they're all getting more involved. I think multiple touchdowns for Stafford is a good pick. And then third down defense, the 6th worst, but the Rams are the 11th worst, so I don't really know. Usually if you get a defense that's really bad or really good on third down and an offense that's really bad, you like their field goal kicker, but nothing there. And the Rams have the 13th best red zone offense, so nothing there. I'm not really leaning to Josh Carty at all. But let's talk the other side. And again, this is a very fickle thing with the Rams because they change up what they do defensively all the time. They are extremely, extremely diverse in the coverages they play, the exotic looks that they show. So it's tough to get a beat. But data outliers, the pass game, it's explosives. The 8th most pass yards allowed, but the 9th fewest pass attempts. So they're not throwing the ball a ton against the Rams, but when they are, it's big explosive plays. Not always to wide receivers. 4th fewest wide receiver receptions, right? Receptions in terms of yards, though, middle of the pack. 8th most rushing yards given up to opposing running backs, as well as the 7th most rush attempts. Here's the thing, though. We don't know what the running back deal is. Again, if you're not following me on X, that's the best way to stay updated on all this stuff. I like retweet, comment on all this stuff, the new stuff. But I want to read you a quote from Kyle Shanahan about Isaac Guerendo. This is being recorded at 2 p.m. And again, there's nothing, looking at all my notifications, nothing so far on Guerendo. But this is what he said yesterday, Tuesday. Guerendo definitely couldn't go today. We'll see if he can go Thursday. He couldn't go today. It's a quick turnaround, so we have to evaluate him hard each day. I'll be surprised if he does much tomorrow, which is, again, Wednesday, probably when a lot of you guys are watching it. But hopefully Thursday will be enough for him. Now, to me, that sounds like it's a game time decision. If they're not going to put anything on him during the practice week, so they're going to wait till Thursday, see how he feels. If he plays, I truthfully do like Isaac Guerendo. I think they could rip off a couple big runs, but if he does not play, Patrick Taylor Jr. is the guy you need to look at. Now, the Rams are being targeted out of the backfield at the 13th highest rate, which is very important to note. We talked about how much zone they play. Usually that leans running backs, tight ends, and we're going to talk about George Kittle. We love George Kittle. Usually that means running backs and tight ends. Who is a hybrid running back tight end in the 49ers offense? You guys probably, it's Kyle Juszczyk. Now, his projection is not out yet, but I do want to read you some of these numbers with Kyle Juszczyk. Overall zone for the San Francisco 49ers, you have Juwan Jennings with the most targets at 43. You remember last time they played, he had 11 for 175 and 3 touchdowns. It's not a history repeats itself performance. It's a, this guy's really good against zone and the Rams are going to play zone performance. So Juwan Jennings, I like for a big game. The other one, actually, I think I like Kittle more, but Kittle has the most catches and yards per route run against zone. You can go look at some of these game logs for good big tight ends against the Los Angeles Rams. We'll pull this up real quick. Oh, that's game logs for the Rams. Excuse me. I got the wrong thing here. There we go. But some of the bigger games, you got 5 catches for Taysom Hill, 5 catches for Juwan Johnson across the board, 6 for 63 with Hunter Henry. Not a ton until you look back early on in the season when they really played elite talents. Like Bowers, 10 for 93. That's the best tight end they've played all year. He ate their zone alive, and that, I think, is going to happen again. Trey McBride, 6 for 67, a very good game as well there. But you look down the line, Laporta's not being involved in the pass offense as much as you thought. The 3 best tight ends they've played in terms of pass production, that's definitely Bowers, and it's definitely Trey McBride. The next one, it's probably Hunter Henry, to be honest with you, but that's the 3 best games. The bottom line here is every time they've played a tight end who's elite in the passing game, who has a significant role in the passing game, they've been good. George Kittle should be good, especially with his splits against zone. 3rd most catches, 3rd most targets is Debo, 1.66 yards per out run. I'm not going to lead into Debo, but Kyle Juszczyk, guys, literally obsolete, non-existent against man coverage, but 8 times as many targets against zone as he does against man. 17 targets, 12 catches. That's almost a full catch per game just against zone coverage, right? Just against zone coverage. Again, his projections aren't out yet, but you can go look at some of his game logs against these zone-heavy or zone-centric teams, right? We'll scroll back here. Minnesota, 3 for 19, guys. That was his highest receiving production game of the year. He had 1 for 6 against the Rams last time, which, again, definitely something to note. You do have to think about that. You got to take past data. Seattle, a very balanced team, 3 for 10, 2 for 12. Green Bay, again, pretty balanced, but more zone than not, 14 yards. Against zone, he produces. That's the bottom line. He produces against zone. That will be more of a fun pick if we're on anything. That'll be on X. Not going to say it straight, at least not right now, but that is definitely something to note. In terms of overall target rate for the Rams, we talked about it. Out of the backfield at the 13th highest rate. Inline tight end target rate, the 6th highest rate. That's where teams are throwing the football against the Los Angeles Rams. That's the bottom line. Inside, backfield, tight end. Pretty simple. Now, you do look at the other side of this, especially with where the 49ers are throwing the football. 8th lowest out wide rate, so I'm not really going to lean into out wide. And out wide is Debo. Debo is the out wide guy. The slot guy is Juwan Jennings. They're throwing to the slot, the 12th highest rate. Again, that leans into Juwan Jennings, but again, the Rams are the 6th lowest slot targeted team in the NFL. That's the only thing that worries me. That's the only thing that makes me not want to hammer Juwan Jennings 80 yards, 90 yards. He's projected, I think, 68 right now. But 68 is a good number. I like that a lot. In terms of other target rate, the thing that worries me about Juszczyk is they're not really throwing to running backs. That's the bottom line. Obviously, they haven't had McCaffrey for the majority of the year, but 7th lowest target rate out of the backfield offensively for the Niners, but 5th highest inline target rate for tight ends. That's with Kittle. 6th highest inline tight end target rate allowed from the Rams. It's a Kittle game. At least that's what I think. Seems like a Kittle game, and I'm not really thinking too much about it. Now, run game is super important. We do have to talk about the run game for this because we did talk about the Isaac Guerrero potential not playing, Patrick Taylor maybe stepping in. In terms of overall yards per carry, right, you can see the 49ers are very efficient on the ground. They don't run a ton, but they're very efficient on the ground, 4.83 yards per carry. That's very good. Defensively, when you look at yards per carry, the Rams are the 9th lowest team in the NFL at 4.68 yards per carry. And in terms of overall rush yards per game, they have the 5th most allowed. So they are a team that allows a lot on the ground. The 49ers will run the ball effectively on them. What makes me even more confident that that's going to happen is the advanced metrics and zone data the 49ers have provided us. I'd say if you know a good amount about football, you'd know Kyle Shanahan's run scheme is zone-centric. It's a lot of inside zone, mid-zone, things like that. The San Francisco 49ers are running the 4th most zone runs at the 4th highest percentage, not just overall highest percentage. This isn't overall attempts. This is when the Niners run. Everybody in the NFL runs 100 run plays. The Niners are going to be 4th highest in terms of how many of those are zone runs compared to man gap. When they run zone, they have the 5th highest zone yards per carry. So they're even more efficient in zone than they are just overall. On the other side, though, the Los Angeles Rams, 9th most zone yards per carry allowed. 9th most. 49ers offense, 10th highest explosive run percentage. Now, the Rams don't allow a ton of explosive runs, which is interesting to note. But the Niners have the advantage in terms of where the runs can come from, how much better they are at a certain type of run than another one. I think Guerrero or even Patrick Taylor, longest rush, could absolutely be in play here. I don't know enough about each side. I shouldn't say I don't know. I'm not confident enough in, the Rams +2 or the Niners -2 to say, yeah, the Niners are going to be able to take the air out of the ball in the 4th quarter. I think it's going to be a very close game, and I don't think either team will have to abandon what they do. Guys, I literally said the exact same words last Thursday night for Jahmyr Gibbs and Josh Jacobs' longest rushes, and they both hit in the first half. That is what I think has to be the case this game. In terms of red zone stuff, Rams are middle of the pack in terms of field goal allowed. They're very good in the red zone. 8th best red zone defense. The Niners are not great. 22nd best red zone offense. 3rd down defense, 13th worst. The 49ers, 7th best 3rd down offense. Makes me think they can continue to move the ball. Look, in terms of overall game, guys, I looked at this. It opened at -2. I'm going to check. Well, -2 for the Niners. I'm going to check it again right now just to see. But it's now -3 for the Niners. Everybody in America should be on Rams +3 based on what happened last week, how the Niners have been playing, all this stuff. Everybody in America is probably going to be on them. Anytime that's the case, it never happens. So I think, look, if it gets down to 2.5, the issue is I agree with everybody in America. I do think the Rams are the better team. I think they should win this game. But Niners at home with everybody on the other side, it's very interesting. Truthfully, I'm probably not going to touch either side. I'm going to stick with the props. We've done a lot of research on the props. But if you like fading America, Niners, best friend this week. I'm not going to be on either side. But You guys let me know, comment what your predictions are. And again, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a like and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. I'll show you guys one more time where you can get all these picks. There's a link below for all this stuff. All the entries and parlays are on my Instagram. Remember that Instagram. We're almost at 40K on there. If we can get to 40K before Thursday Night Football, guys, I'll do a little giveaway. So if you're seeing this, make sure you follow the Instagram. X, touchdown scores, fun picks, probably Kyle Juszczyk if we do anything. I might just bet him to score any time, to be honest with you. And then if you want free picks, sleeper, underdog, and better picks will all give you free cash, free half-yard specials or half completion specials if you join with code LEADS, LEADS. Again, all that stuff is below. I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate the support on the YouTube the past week or so. Again, 1,000+ subscribers this past week. We are going to hit 10K this week. You got to believe. Make sure you send this to a friend if you think they could benefit from any of this information, if they want to ride any of this stuff with me and you. And God bless you guys. I will see you next time. Enjoy your Thursday Night Football game.